And we're live again. Hello, everyone. How are you? I've got some fantastic messages coming in. Before I go there, I've got to tell you that I didn't sleep much last night. I was up till late working on this particular live stream with all my ideas and notes. And as happens with me when looking at computer screens late at night, I woke up with a terrible migraine. So I eventually got up in the wee hours and completely decided to do this differently. So this is very much seat of my pants stuff. Let's see who's here. We've got Moya. Hello, Moya. Hi from sunny County Kildare. Clark, really looking forward to hearing about Hero. It's my mum's favourite JHJ song. My joint favourite with Turn Back the Clock. Very cool, Moya. Thank you very much indeed. Um, Anders, I've got to go back to you. Firstly, Susan, hello from Hong Kong again. Happy 1st of May to all. Yes, indeed. Happy 1st of May. Good point. Anders, I did see your message. Hello, Clark. Anders from Norway here. Could you say hi to Irina or Irina? She's in bed, not well today, but she'll still hear you from there. Hello, Irina or Irina. How you doing? I hope you get better soon. Thanks for sending that message, Anders. That's very cool of you. Who do we have here? Darren Gorankan. Hope I got that right, Darren. Hello, Clark. First time live watcher here. I'm from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm 30-year-old proud fan. Welcome, Darren. Thanks so much for joining us. That's wonderful. What an ancient place Istanbul is as well. Fantastic. I hope to go there one day, actually. Love to play there live. Matt, hi Clark and everyone here. I hope everyone is in good spirits today. I have my unsweetened black tea and fig Newtons ready to go in Michigan. Matt, I think that's a cool combination. I like the bitterness of the black tea, but the sweetness of the fig Newtons. I sound like someone from MasterChef now, don't I? Very cool. We've got Suzanne, hello again from Germany. Hello, Suzanne. So excited to hear the story behind Hero. Great. I'm looking forward to telling it. Pete, hi Clark, love your work. Turn Back the Clock was the first compact disc I owned. Ironically, I'm trying to find an original vinyl pressing now. Well, yes, hard to find the originals. The 30th anniversary edition, though, is as good as the original, if not better, and you can still get that on vinyl, I believe. A couple more messages here. Carol. Hi Clark, hope your mum is well. Did you manage to dig out the photo of you both you mentioned last week? Well reminded, Carol. If I did, I would have forgotten that due to the lack of sleep I had. But I'm not going to forget to share that one with you. What have we got here? Fatima, oh my goodness, Clark, please drink tons of water and take a nap after this. I will do my best. But interestingly, these live streams are just like gigs. There's a lot of adrenaline, there's preparation, there's nerves, there's excitement, and then at the end of it, you just want to collapse. It's incredible, but you're also kind of revved up still. Like I said, a lot of adrenaline. So I'll rest if I can, but I'll probably be wide-eyed for the rest of the evening. Liam, hi Clark, hope you're doing well. Really excited for today's edition. I Don't Want to Be Hero is also one of my favourites from the Turn Back the Clock album. I've always greatly admired your songwriting and how you incorporate deep subject matter into an expertly crafted upbeat pop song. Combining sad lyrics with, I'll put that back, jolly instrumentation is a true testament to your musical talent. Thanks, Liam. I don't take that lightly, actually, because you've focused on something that is, I kind of started off doing accidentally, and then when I realized that it was a combination that people responded to, I started to do it more obviously. So thank you very much for that. Okay, I'm going to do one more message. Larissa, hello Clark, I would like to share Lives Forever. Please, you have incredible energy. I listen to your music every day. God bless you and your smile that enchants. Thank you very much, Larissa. I'm glad someone likes my smile. And Eric, hi Clark and everyone from Los Angeles. Hello Eric, very much looking forward to hearing about I Don't Want to Be Hero. It's one of my absolute favourites, not just JHJ but of all songs. Thank you Eric, that's really kind of you. Okay, everyone, I'll try and get back to you. Actually, before I do, Morton, some years ago I wrote a script about a hero who doesn't want to be a hero, listening to this piece constantly, working nights and drinking lots of lemon juice to wake up, to keep awake. But it was your song that kept me going, so this one is definitely the most important JHJ song, as it brings lots of memories and hopes of artistic glory. That's a beautiful message. Thank you very much, Morton. Lax needs some fashion tips. Where did you get that cool, splendid shirt, Clark? Well, it's interesting to say that, Lax, because it's a country that features in this particular stream. I don't know if anyone here is from Argentina, but it comes from Argentina, and I'll explain more about that shortly. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I'm keeping an eye on your comments, but we've got a lot to cover, so I'm just going to start by wishing you all a good cuppa of whatever it is you're drinking. I've got my digestives back there. I know people have various bickies, etc. Digestives are very simple, but they're very Moorish. Okay, people from all over the place. Incredible. I'm so appreciative that we've got, from what I can see, people from Turkey, from Cyprus, from Belgium. We've got people from Germany, people from Japan, people from Singapore, from Hong Kong, from the United States. No doubt we have some from Central and South America, because we always seem to, but I missed a lot of them. Hi, Piero from Italy. Yeah, lots of different people joining in. So thank you very much. And of course, people from Ireland and the UK. So thank you for joining in. Well, let's start with I Don't Want to Be a Hero. As you know, it's my personal favourite song from the album. I make a differentiation between song and recording, because if I was to play I Don't Want to Be a Hero now, which I'm going to do in a while, just on a piano, it kind of is closer to how I'd originally intended it. When we came to record it in the studio, we based it on my original demo, my original recording, which was a bit slower and a little bit more sad. And I think just in the excitement of recording, we edged up the speed a bit, and the other guys knew that one of my influences was, for this particular track, Chic, Good Times. And I'm sure you can probably hear that. It's not that I was listening to Good Times and I thought, oh, I'm going to write a song like Good Times. No. But I was very into Chic musically. Not the deepest music in the world, but, incredible grooves, incredible playing. So, yeah, we kind of went down that road a bit. But of course it became, JHJ-ized. So it didn't end up sounding like Chic was a good thing. It sounded like us. And a really good track, much more energetic than I'd originally intended. So with that in mind, when I say that it's my favourite song, I do have a bit of a criticism of myself. I often say this, I'm an older, hopefully wiser person now, in terms of how I would articulate myself now. And I think the one thing that Hero only got across to some people is that it's a song that is railing at the political establishment and the military industrial complex, the people and organizations that send our brave women and men in the armed forces into conflict. I have great respect for people in the armed forces. This is actually a critique of people who send them into war for dubious reasons. And look, folks, I'm not black and white about this. We live in a very black and white time in terms of people are either right or wrong or left or right or whatever. I don't see it like that. Some wars are just, some wars are unjust, and a lot of them are a mixture of the two. So anyway, I'm very much supportive of our brave servicemen and servicewomen. I want to make that point, as I often do before we do concerts. So I mentioned Chic. Lyrically speaking, though, there was one record that influenced me and continues to from when I was very young. And it is this, Harvest for the World by the Isley Brothers. If you associate that song with any other band afterwards, like the Christians, those are all covers. There's nothing like the original. These guys wrote it, performed it, recorded it, played it. In fact, they're master musicians. Ernie Isley the guitarist in the Isley Brothers, wrote Harvest for the World, and Ernie Isley is every bit as good as Jimi Hendrix, not nearly as celebrated, and absolutely should be. Actually, interesting story. Jimi Hendrix, as a young man, lived with the Isley Brothers, with the family, and Ernie was younger than Jimi, and Ernie kind of, learnt from Jimi and developed this incredible rock soul style, which is still unique to him to this day. Anyway, Harvest for the World um, was and is important to me because it made such a clear appeal to humanity to understand what is important to us: being fed, being clothed, being given shelter, being given peace. There's a great line in Harvest for the World: dress me up for battle when all I want is peace. Um, those who often pay the price come home with the least. And I incorporated that sentiment in the last bridge of I Don't Want to Be a Hero. And those who return from war come back only to learn that they're hated by those that they love. In other words, as they've been out to war and the media has reported on this war in whatever way they do, the people that they were fighting for actually turn against them. We saw this in multiple conflicts, especially in Vietnam. And I'm not saying it was all right and all wrong, but it was, alarming for a lot of the personnel who survived that appalling war. So there we go. The Isley is very important to me. And interestingly, just as an aside, Harvest for the World was very influential when I came to write Spirit of Love with Mike and Phil from the Wide Awake album. As I think anyone would hear, it's got a certain vibe about it. It's not, it's no more than that, but it has a spirit to it. So, interestingly, I've not really covered this before, folks. I'm sorry, I can see I've got a bit of light coming in here. It was really cloudy before we started, and I didn't think I'd need to block that out. But anyway, I haven't really talked about my process of writing, and Hero's a really good example, because a lot of people, when they write songs, will talk about the idea that, they get a melodic idea first, or they get a lyrical idea, or maybe these days it's more common for people to get grooves. That's not how it works with me at all. Ideas come together all at once. As an example, with I Don't Want to Be a Hero, that line da, 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 was there from the beginning, as was, and this is critical, the bass line. That line was part of the songwriting. I didn't suddenly just start going, I don't want to be a hero. It all came at once, and it's very interesting how that happens with me. I'm very bass oriented, as I explained in the last stream after someone asked a question about this. One of the things I'm pretty good at is coming up with bass lines, and I usually play them on keyboards, and then Mike plays them live on bass guitar. And we have a bit of interaction, in the studio about exactly what the bass is doing. Of course, Mike has his input, but these things tend to come all at once. The bass doesn't always come at the same time. It didn't with Shattered Dreams, but it very much did with I Don't Want to Be a Hero. Heart of Gold was another one. So anyway, that's kind of how this evolved as a piece of music. Now, once we'd recorded it, there's an important story associated with this. So really sorry about this terrible light. Because, as you know, I Don't Want to Be a Hero was the second single from Turn Back the Clock. It was our second hit. And so Shattered Dreams had been a hit, and we had a really interesting idea with our photographer Simon Fowler who I'm going to do an interview with for when I talk about Magnetized and Wide Awake. Um, Simon Fowler and our art director, the person who does all the art design on our albums and singles, Rob O'Connor. And we wanted to have a single cover which really reflected the subject of the song, I Don't Want to Be a Hero. So some of you will have seen this already. So this is what they came up with. And that is my favourite image of the band that has ever been taken. Maybe second to the cover of the Spirit of Love single, me and Mike in that beautiful garden. But this was a combination, obviously, of the three of us, and then Simon and Rob set up a photo shoot of children waving white flags, which had doves on them with olive branches in their beaks as a symbol of peace. And I think the kids came from the same school where Simon's kids went to, or one of his kids went to anyway, and they were very excited apparently to be on a Johnny Hates Jazz single cover. But unfortunately it was not to be, because when this was presented to Virgin, bear in mind people had seen very little of us, and Virgin weren't that interested in us. There were only two people there, Caroline True and John Wooler, who really believed in us. Everyone else was kind of, they didn't think we were credible enough, or I don't know what they thought, but we were kind of left alone to just get on with making records and doing our thing, which we were okay with. We liked that. But suddenly when they saw this, and Shattered Dreams had just been a hit, they took notice. And there was one person in the meeting that was to decide if this was going to be the single cover who went absolutely mad over this cover, hated it. And it became quite a controversy at Virgin, because this one particular guy pretty much started yelling and screaming about the fact that we were promoting some kind of fascist-like look. Really. My understanding of it, the idea was that it was actually more of a Soviet look, one of those classic communist type images when you've got, people looking into the distance with a certain kind of vision and hope and determination. And it wasn't that, that's where my political foundations were. But it was a look of heroism. That was the idea. And basically this guy, who was not the highest level at Virgin, but obviously high enough to give us a problem, basically created a situation where we either had to change the cover and never do anything like this again, or this would not come out as a single. And there was even a threat that there would be no more singles. We hadn't recorded the album at that point, folks. We were just signed to a singles deal. That means you're given a contract to do 2, maybe 3 singles, and that's it, because they don't really believe in you. They're taking a bit of a gamble. And of course they learned to believe in us. Anyway, unfortunately we knew we had a lot to lose, because we wanted to do the album, and we wanted I Don't Want to Be a Hero to come out. So we had to capitulate, and as some of you know, I've actually found a very rare cover of I Don't Want to Be a Hero. This is the Japanese version. I realise that the writing is all backwards, folks. That's because I've mirrored this image, so you see the room the way I see it. I hope that makes sense. Let me see if I can quickly swap this round. Oh, there you go. So that's how you would see it, and there you can see that's the cover. That's what it became, and it's a beautiful shot. Simon, did the photograph. Simon Fowler, lovely shot, but doesn't say anything about the song. That's the thing. So, interestingly, that did kind of leave a mark on me, because in some ways, it set the band up to be pushed down a kind of a more youthful pop-oriented image, which we'd never had. We didn't really have an image, we just had the cover of Shattered Dreams. Um, and that was something that over time started to have a negative effect on me and did contribute to me leaving, relatively soon. It wasn't anything to do with the other guys, more external forces. And that's not to say Virgin didn't do a great job in other ways. Virgin Records, our label, they did. But there was something about the approach which was not long term. And I don't think it was about what we were like musically. It was about what they thought would sell the quickest. Anyway, I'm not complaining because, life happens and we all make decisions and maybe would make different ones, later on in life. That might be true of the guy who had such a problem with that particular cover. Anyway, let me just go to some messages here because I see a lot of you have been sending them in. Marzio, hi from Italy. I Don't Want to Be a Hero is a great song. Can't wait to listen to the acoustic version. Great. Ooh, that reminds me. Let's just go here for a second. Gary, hi Clark. Hope you are well. I am, thank you. Sitting in my hospital bed recovering from my cancer surgery, I have been patiently waiting for this one. My favourite song on the album. When you listen to the lyrics, it's so thought-provoking. Gary, I wish you a swift recovery, and I appreciate the message very much. I've been through my own health challenge in that area of illness, so you have my absolute sympathy and empathy, and get well soon. And I hope you're going to enjoy this one. David, here we go. Hi, Clark. Wonderful live. Looking forward to knowing about the story behind I Don't Want to Be a Hero. Great fan from France. David or David. Bonjour, David. Tristan, hello, Clark. Glad to see another live stream today. They have been a stress delivery for me. With the song you are covering today, I was wondering what it was like filming one of the music videos. Well, that's a good question, Tristan. It wasn't my favourite video, I've got to be honest. Sounds like I've got all these complaints about I Don't Want to Be a Hero. It's not that I do, but it was the most meaningful song on the album, an anti-war song, and it's really where I wanted things to go and where I've ended up going in the subject matter of my song. So I always wanted everything about what we did to aim as high as possible, as Mike and Calvin did. But that particular video was interesting. It looked better on paper when you actually read the outline. But nevertheless, it's like that. The final version, it's got a lot of energy, great energy, and certainly when it comes to performing that live, it's it really gets people on their feet. Moya's just saying something here. I'm a fellow migraine sufferer. White tiger balm rubbed into the sore parts on your head works really well, and an ice pack too. Big biofreeze works well too. I do use that. Hope you feel better soon. Your smoke is wonderful. My smoke? What's that? My smoke is wonderful. Moya, let me know what that is. Sorry, maybe I'm missing something there. Vicente, hello Clark. I love your music. I love all of your songs, mainly Shattered Dreams. That's great, Vicente. Well, that's coming, okay? That is coming. So many more. I'll just quickly say hi to Pranav with Radio Creme Brulee. If anyone wants to go and check out Radio Creme Brulee digital station, fantastic station. Pranav runs it and is the main DJ. Clark, I hope you release piano sheet music for these sonic gems and not just the accompaniment. Not all of us can carry a vocal like you can, so we need an arrangement that factors in the melody and the accompaniment. What do we have to do to make this happen? And yes, greetings from New York City. Thanks, Pranav. That's a great request, actually. And I love what you said. What do we have to do to make this happen? Pranav, we'll talk about it. I mean, all of us collectively, because there's a lot coming that I'm not revealing yet. A lot. And maybe that can factor into it. Okay, so good question. So, time for a cuppa, everyone? Now, um, I hope you're doing all right, everyone. I know this is, quite a long talk. I'm not going to go on forever here. I'm noticing all the wonderful messages here, but I'm sorry, everyone. I don't have time to respond to them all personally now. Um, let's go back to what was in my mind when I wrote this song. Well, I've told you before that as a young lad, I was very much a nature boy. I loved being outside. I loved nature. I loved trees. I loved animals. Still do. Um, but I was also a nature boy that was always holding a toy gun. I was very, in my imagination, war oriented, and I wasn't a little Jesus or a little Buddha, not at all. I was good natured, but I really, was into war games, and I think one of the reasons for that is, remember, I was born in '64, so I grew up around the survivors of World War II, and it was very much part of my education. Um, my dad had been in the RAF, fighting um, in Burma, what we call Myanmar now. And actually, when I was at school in my young teens, I was in the Navy cadets. So, I had that part to me, an innate interest in war. And what's really interesting about that is that it's an undeniable fact that a lot of young people, and especially young boys, have this. And this is something that I learnt later on the Mayans and the Native American chiefs studied, because they were plagued, like every different group of people all over the world, they were plagued by constant conflict between tribes, between peoples. It wasn't a utopia anywhere. And one of the reasons for these conflicts, these wars happening, was boredom. This is what the chief said. These young men would get bored and they'd resort to war games, back to young nature boy with a toy gun. But when you're older, it becomes a whole different ball game. So they invented something that I think is fascinating and we should all think about. And it was something called counting coup. And if there's anyone there who knows what this is already, excuse me for telling you what you know, but counting coup was the idea that when two tribes went to war, to quote the Frankie Goes to Hollywood song, what the warriors would do, and the warrioresses, because of course back, it was a much more equitable society, those native tribes, is that they would creep up on their enemy without being heard, guerrilla warfare in other words, and just tap them on the shoulder. And the agreement was that as soon as they felt that tap, that was it. They could have been killed. Their opponent who did that could have killed them and chose not to. And that became, counting coup became the whole basis of an avoidance of violence, of an avoidance of death and injury, by turning it into a kind of game. I thought that was really fascinating and very, not just imaginative, but wise in that situation of the chiefs of those lands. Anyway, I grew up in the late 60s and the 70s, and as I had this interest in war, just like any other, young kid of the time, especially boys, like I said, but not only, I was listening more and more to music. And of course, the 60s and the 70s gave rise to music that was being made during the Vietnam War. So you had, profound songs from many, many artists. Whether that's John Lennon, Give Peace a Chance, or whether that's Marvin Gaye, What's Going On. I mean, you could mention many here, of course. But it was the music of that time actually that educated me to the reality of war and that maybe there's an alternative. And more importantly, I saw that music having an effect and realized that music did have the power to influence the course of society and potentially humanity. It had to be great, had to be thoughtful, and it had to be relevant to the people of that time and indeed the present. So this made me start to think about war much more deeply and develop my own feelings about it, which, I don't need to tell you, obviously I'm, vehemently against it, even though sometimes it's the last resort. I'm not, you can't argue with that. Like I say, we don't live in a utopia. It's not a panacea. Maybe we'll get there. I hope we will. But what really kind of had an impact for me was that in 1982 there was a conflict, a war, and I was 18 years old, so this had a big impact on how I saw the world. There was a war between the UK and Argentina, and in the UK it's known as the Falklands War. In Argentina it's known as the Malvinas War, all surrounding these islands in the South Atlantic, which for a long time had been in dispute about ownership. Really what got me, though, was the horror of the loss of life on both sides. I mean, to see, British troops suffer terrible disfigurement if they survived at the hands of Argentinian missiles, was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. Just as it was absolutely shocking when a lot of Argentinians lost their lives when a British submarine sank their flagship, the General Belgrano. And a lot of the people on the ship that went down with the torpedo were kids, conscripts. They hadn't volunteered. They'd been forced into the conflict. So it was shocking all over to see these two countries that didn't seem to have enmity before suddenly erupt into this situation. And it was triggered by the president or the dictator of the Argentinian junta military government at the time, General Galtieri, who was suffering badly in the opinion polls. His government was in trouble. He wasn't popular. And hey presto, a conflict arises, and suddenly everyone becomes very patriotic, and they're given a cause to focus on instead of how they really felt about Galtieri. Meanwhile, in the UK, you've got another leader who's deeply unpopular with the people, suffering terrible election results, very, very unpopular indeed. Her policies are having a very destructive effect on British society, and this is Margaret Thatcher. And when the invasion of the Falklands and Malvinas happens, it hands her a way to shift the attention from how badly things are going on at home to a very real situation that our military had to respond to. And once again, I'm supportive of the military, but it's more how this became used by the political leadership as opportunism, an opportunity to avoid scrutiny. That means to avoid being looked at particularly carefully and seen for really how badly they were all doing. So that war actually was the one that inspired me most to write I Don't Want to Be a Hero. And if you think about the second verse, don't send me off to war to a faraway land I never knew existed. Well, that's true of many conflicts, unfortunately, but the Falklands was one of them in the sense that a lot of people in Britain didn't know where they were when this happened. It was everyone kind of rushed to the map to find out where this place was. We certainly know now. And of course the Argentinians, feel very strongly about it still. So I'm going to fast forward because many years later, I married an Argentinian woman. And we went to a place called El Calafate in Patagonia, south of Argentina. And there's an incredible glacier there called Perito Moreno, and it's one of the few glaciers that is not melting certainly as quickly as others are. This is a picture of me there. Quite an astounding place, um, and absolutely beautiful land. And what was really interesting was two things. Firstly, in this town, El Calafate, um, there was a monument to those that had died in the Malvinas War. And this is me there. And it's the first time I'd been to a monument in Argentina, or Argentina as they call it, dedicated to those who fell in that conflict. And for me, it was to everyone who fell in that conflict, whether they were Argentinian or British. That may not have been the intention of those who created this memorial, but it was very, very sobering to be there. First time since writing I Don't Want to Be a Hero that I was in that position, and that look on my face is deep contemplation. And here's the amazing thing, folks, and I'm going to get to the song in a minute. Here's the amazing thing. Everyone in Argentina was absolutely wonderful with me. They're lovely people. I very, very rarely ran into anyone who had a problem with me because I was British and there was this, very terrible war. And I know Argentinians say that about when they meet British people. What's this about? And yet we had this very violent interaction in the early 80s. And I read something online recently that I'd like to close my talk about I Don't Want to Be a Hero with, that I think might explain a lot. Patriotism, or patriotism as we say in Britain, is a love of your country, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nationalism is a hatred of other countries, and there's everything wrong with that. And the two can merge and change from one to the other very quickly. So in a time when, as I said earlier, the world is seen through such binary lenses, we're either one thing or another. There's no grey area in between. You're this or you're that. When you've got people saying, I am this and you are that, you immediately create a wall. So I do my best to not think of myself as British, male, Christian or agnostic or atheist or pagan, any of those things. In other words, to not think about, my spirituality is not a badge I have to wear, or the color of my skin or my gender. I mentioned that before, sorry. All these things put up immediate senses of difference. And there are differences, there are natural differences, but at the end of the day, we are all children of Mother Earth. That's the way I see it. And when I go to Argentina and I meet Argentinians over here, that's immediately obvious. There's so much commonality there that has nothing to do with that conflict. It's like any of us. It's like us talking with each other today. It's all about commonality, what we have in common, not what differentiates us, what sets us apart from one another. We've got way more in common with each other all over the world than we have not in common. And I think the media and the powers that be like to focus on the differences, what sets us apart. I don't want to do that. I think we need to find our commonality, even though there are differences, focus on the commonality so we can create a more peaceful society and a society where we all work together to save the planet as well. Probably I was going to go there, but that is how I feel. I'm sure you agree, a lot of you, if not all of you. Okay, it's time. That's a lovely cup of tea. Okay, before I start, I've got here Dawn. Hi from USA. JHJ was one of only 3 cassettes that I would listen to all the way through without skipping songs. Love all the new music. Foolish Heart is my favourite. Don't Want to Be a Hero is number 2 from the album. That's very cool. I'm not covering Foolish Heart because I didn't write it, and this is a songwriting live stream, these episodes. But I love the song as well. I love performing it live, especially acoustically. Roz, where are you, Roz? Would you ever cover Harvest for the World live to complement Hero or your other tracks? Interestingly, Roz, we did a gig in Germany, in Kiel, in North Germany, many years ago, and we did Harvest for the World. It's online. It was a great version, actually, and it was really good to do it. Yeah, would we do it again? I think that would be kind of cool. I like the idea. Thank you for that. Let's just get one more message in, then I think it's time for a song. Kensuke Tsuda. Hi Clark, greetings from Japan. I remember that I was very excited to hear this in your live show in Japan in 2019. Actually, this is my first JHJ single when I was a teenager and became my anthem since then. That's great. Kensuke, that's a wonderful message. Thank you very much. Okay. Time for the song. You're doing okay. You hanging on in there with me. Okay. There are 2 different approaches to I Don't Want to Be a Hero. There's the one you're familiar with, the recording from the Turn Back the Clock album, and then there's the acoustic version we did for the 30th anniversary edition of Turn Back the Clock, which is much slower and really quite sad. And that's the one I was going to do until I didn't have much sleep. And then I thought, no, I think we need energy here. So what I'm going to do is kind of a combination of the 2. I'm really winging it with this one, folks, because I did not prepare this combination. So bear with me. But what I wanted to say is sing along with the chorus. For those of you who know the video, dun, 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 here I am many years later still doing it on stage, and everyone does it back to me in the audience. If you want to go for that, do it. I might not do that till the last bridge, but we'll see how it goes. And I think also I'd like everyone to get clapping a bit. Let's try that, okay? Has everyone got that? Okay, it's over to you. Don't send me off to war with a gun in my hand, 'cause I won't pull the trigger. Our destiny is here, neath the red, white and blue, but it's no more than slaughter. Now don't be afraid, come and join the parade for the ultimate in sacrifice. It's an old-fashioned story of hope and of glory, a ticket for taking a life. I don't wanna be a hero. I don't wanna die for you. I don't wanna be a hero. Don't send me off to war, to a faraway land I never knew existed. Subject me to the truth, to the horror and pain, until my mind is twisted. And what if I fail? Will you put me in jail for a murder I will not commit? 'Cause you don't understand till there's blood on your hands, that there's always a time to forgive. I don't wanna be a hero. I don't wanna die for you. I don't wanna be a hero. Oh yeah. Oh. to learn that they're hated by those who they love. 'Cause you're not satisfied till thousands have died, and your greed is paid for in blood. I don't wanna be a hero. I don't wanna die for you. I don't wanna be a hero, yeah. I said I don't wanna be a hero. I don't wanna die for you. I don't wanna be a hero. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, I don't wanna die. Hey, yeah, yeah. Don't send me off to war. Well, I don't think I've performed it like that before. That's gonna be unique to Journey songs. I hope you enjoyed that. Lots of energy there. A few what we call blue notes. But I hope you were singing along and getting behind it. I'm sure there were a few people. I won't mention names, Roz, doing a bit of punching. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for hanging on in there with me. We've been on air actually for nearly an hour, but I've been talking with you for about 50 minutes. So thanks very much for listening to my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Folks, it's each song has a different story. Next week is going to be very different. Well, actually, there is a similarity. But I hope it's revealing, and I hope that the backstory kind of helps you reappreciate the song if you liked it already, and maybe hear it in a broader context now. Let's just see where everyone's at with this. I'm going to go right to the end. Oh yes, yeah. Right to the important stuff. Clark, you said that you were going to tell us about your shirt. Well, the connection is that I got it in Argentina when I went on that journey to El Calafate. So here we are. Yes, it's an Argentinian shirt. Ironic that I'm wearing this, but deliberate. When I perform I Don't Want to Be a Hero, considering its main source of inspiration. So that's the story. Thanks, Sylvia. A lot of people, I like this. Carolina, I'm singing, love this song. Great. I'm so glad. So what have we got here? Alice singing along, I Don't Want to Die. Very cool, Alice. Thank you. Pranav, absolutely brilliant. Thank you, man. Thanks, Pranav. High praise indeed. Thank you. Lax, it's phenomenal to watch you play two melodies with two hands while singing, Clark. Lax, it's phenomenal that I got through it, let me tell you. It doesn't always go that well, but thank you, man. Thank you very much. Anne, love his voice. Thank you, Anne. I'm glad. That's great. Polly, hope and glory are very juxtaposed phrase when it comes to war, but I sincerely get the meaning. The song has so many layers, more than just objecting to war, but how it is sold to those we send. Well said, Polly. Another good observation. You've made them in the past. This is interesting, folks. If you're interested, there's a film which I believe is available on YouTube. It's practically impossible to find now. It's called Why We Fight. Remember that, folks. Why We Fight. It's a documentary about the reasons behind a lot of conflicts, a lot of wars. It's a brilliant documentary, very well made. I think it came out, it might have been in the 90s. See if you can find it. Why We Fight. Very educational, still relevant today, unfortunately. Matt, amazing. I love that. Music, the ultimate commonality, the true path to world peace. Thank you, Clark. Matt, absolutely, man. And you know what? It's so good you focused on that, Matt, because it's true. and different musicians have different ways of exuding that. Um, there's a guy a lot of you may be aware of, but certainly in Holland will be aware of, Andre Rieu. Andre Rieu is a classical violin populist violinist, and he has his own orchestra and he tours the world. And like I say, it's very populist interpretations of classical pieces or West, West End music. That's what we say for theatre music, etc. But he also makes a point of saying that music is about bringing people together. Smashing down barriers and recognizing that we have this different language that we all share together, the great language of music. Um, so thank you very much, everyone. I am just going to go to Renee. Johnny Hates Jazz is still one of the best pop bands in the world. Your latest album, Wide Awake 2020, which I discovered some weeks ago, is just great. Thank you, Renee. I did not pay you to say that at that moment. Thanks so much, Renee. Yeah, Wide Awake is... I'd like to think is a bit of a gem, and I know Mike feels the same way. So thank you very much, man. Um, okay, let me just go to Ken. Ken, hi Clark. Hero is a great song and message. I totally agree with. You might have mentioned it, but I can imagine that there was resistance from the record label to release this song, especially in places like the USA that takes pride in its military. Did you get much hassle from this song and the message in it? Good question, Ken. Really good question. Um, the record label was supportive, and that was a great thing. And I should mention that when there was the problem with the cover, it was only one person. Everyone else was cool. No, they were supportive of it. And the reason, Ken, and everyone else, is this. And if you've heard me say this before in interviews, sorry that I'm banging on about it. But it was really common in the 60s, 70s, and 80s to have hit pop songs with deep lyrics and very often anti-war stances. Very common. So they didn't look at it and think, oh, this could be dangerous. What's the military in the States, or what are people who support the military in the US going to think about this? That wasn't the case at all, because that was part of how we communicated with one another. An anti-war song, I come back to this, does not mean anti-military. You can talk about individual people in the military or not in the military. That's a different matter. So no, we didn't really have resistance to it, and by the time it came out in the States, I'd already left Johnny Hates Jazz, so it didn't really get the promotion it deserved. There was a new video for it, which, I was in silhouette. I was they were trying to hide me. So it didn't really take hold. It's taken hold over time, though. Certainly it's become popular over time. Anders, again, I hope Irina appreciated that. Great performance, Clark. Your outros are always great. Irina, a little bit better now. I'm glad to hear that, Anders. And thank you for for focusing on my outros. Yes, I came up with that about 20 minutes before I went on air. Everyone, thank you very much. Oh yes, did you, Davina? You've just mentioned the two videos. Now you know why that was the case. They remade the original video for the US without me in it, except in silhouette, because they were preparing to replace me basically, and I don't blame them for that. It's it's not anything that bothers me. Liam, loved the performance, Clark. As a 27-year-old, I wasn't around during your height in the 80s. However, I thought you'd be pleased to hear your music has still heavily influenced the younger generations. I'm thankful my mom had good music taste. As a keen follower of yours, I just wanted to say that it's so special you're doing Journey songs and giving us a chance to interact and gain a deeper insight into you and your music. So thank you very much. Very excited for any upcoming Rain Dance tracks. Liam, thank you. That's a lovely message. I really appreciate it. And it's very on target in the sense that, yes, Rain Dance is coming, folks. There's actually only another 2 songs from the Turn Back the Clock album. And then we take a left turn into Clark Datchler solo land and Magnetized. So that's going to be a great phase. I think you're going to really, really enjoy it. So stay on board. This is when it gets really interesting. But also, Liam, in terms of influencing younger generations, which I've only really realized recently or found out, I've actually just done an interview with a guy called Cole Bennett from a band called FM84. FM84 actually is just Cole. Um, and FM84 did an album a few years ago called Atlas, and a great track on it called Running in the Night. I'm sure some of you know this. If you don't know it, have a listen. I posted this track on social media saying, I heard this, and it was my son who played it to me actually. I heard it and thought, wow, someone actually gets it. It's very 80s inspired. And Cole then saw the post, wrote back to me beside himself because apparently I was very influential on his musical journey. And so I've done an interview with him, and he's going to be in the first song from Raindance that I cover in Journey Songs, which is a song called It's Better This Way. More about that soon, okay? So good point, Liam. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to sign off, folks. A quick word about next week. Next week is a bit of an experiment. Saturday next week, I'm not going to be here. But I am going to broadcast Journey Songs live. I'm actually going to be in a venue in London filming a streamed acoustic gig of Johnny Hates Jazz that will be available a few weeks later on the streaming platform, the live streaming platform Mandolin. And it's ticketed, which means it's only available for a few days, and then it's gone. Incredible. So me, Mike, and our longtime friend and guitarist Marcus Bonfanti will be there. We're going to halt preparations for the stream gig, which is going to happen afterwards, but no one can see it live, okay? It's only recorded and then broadcast later. But I'm going to halt proceedings to broadcast Journey Songs from this venue, which is a venue called Subterranea in London. No audience are allowed there. It's just us and film crew and the sound people, etc. And we're going to be talking to you. I say finally, I'm going to have Mike with me, which is great. I mean, actually, they're right beside me. And Marcus, for those of you who have seen us live, Marcus is always there with us, whether it's acoustic or full band. I've known Marcus for donkey's years. A great guy, lovely guy, and fantastic player. So we're going to be performing a song that I guess is one of the less focused on songs from Turn Back the Clock, and that is Don't Let It End This Way. And Don't Let It End This Way actually, as a subject, could be about a relationship breakup. Absolutely. In reality, it was about something else. Like I've said about other songs before, I have this in my mind, but they can be construed in different ways. Some of them, anyway. So that's going to be cool because we've done this. We've done Don't Let It End This Way and the whole set acoustically in many situations, and it's great. We have a blast doing it. Now, it's a bit of an experiment, folks, because obviously I'm dependent on the setup there, the internet signal, the Wi-Fi being strong enough. So bear with me. I'm going to do my best. But 5 p.m. UK time, live from Subterranea in London, Journey Songs, and I'll be doing with Mike and Marcus, Don't Let It End This Way. Lots of talking, lots of interaction. I think it's going to be great. If it works, I'm going to be taking a lot of my setup with me. Fingers crossed. Okay. Folks, thank you again for all your messages. I'm sorry I've not answered you all, not been able to get everyone up on screen, but much love to you. Have a good week, and let's remember our commonality, what we have in common, which is way more than that which we do not. Okay, take care. Adios.